Welcome back to our channel, the place where hidden chapters, royal secrets, and the stories the palace won't publish finally come to light. Today we bring you a breaking news: Tom Bower's nightmare reveal, Meghan's deceitful scheming monster, dark secrets that'll shatter her world forever. A newly published investigative biography by Tom Bower has apparently caused significant turmoil for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The project, as reported by media sources and insiders, presents assertions that contest the public narrative Meghan Markle has constructed regarding her background and life path. Bower, an author renowned for his meticulous and frequently contentious biographies of prominent individuals, is reported to have created a work that chronicles the Duchess's life from her infancy and undergraduate years to her initial forays in the entertainment sector. Individuals acquainted with the book or referenced in stories assert that the depiction it offers substantially differs from the narrative Meghan has conveyed in interviews, speeches, and other public venues. The book has generated extensive media interest and public discourse, heightening examination of the couple's public image and their business ventures. Bower's volume is based on substantial research, including interviews and documentary proof as indicated by several published extracts and insider reports. Individuals purportedly acquainted with Meghan prior to her association with Prince Harry are said to have provided accounts that collectively create a divergent perspective on significant events in her life. While the Sussexes may have previously dismissed prior tabloid narratives as mere lurid gossip, Bower's reputation as a meticulous fact-gatherer has conferred a different level of perceived credibility to the current allegations in certain circles. The disparity in reputation has generated a complex communication challenge for the couple's team, the issue of how or whether to address a credible critique that allegedly undermines the foundation of the Duchess's public image. The primary assertion presented in these narratives is that Meghan has intentionally crafted and occasionally altered aspects of her personal history to correspond with her current position as a globally recognized advocate and humanitarian, an accusation that, if embraced by a wide audience, would undermine the authenticity claim that is foundational to the Sussexes' public endeavors. Sources affiliated with the couple allegedly indicate a noticeable atmosphere of anxiety within the Montecito residence as they navigate the repercussions. Observers conversing with or near the family indicate a tense environment as they consider strategic options to publicly respond, risking the amplification of the book's claims, or to remain silent, potentially permitting an alternative narrative to acquire momentum. The dilemma is exacerbated by the Sussexes' construction of their public persona on the tenets of transparency and honesty. Being compelled to remain silent amidst accusations that undermine the authenticity of their self-representation poses a significant reputational challenge. The decision transcends immediate appearances. It affects their overarching brand, which is intricately linked to assertions of authenticity, moral authority, and experiential credibility. The implications of the book transcend personal insult and reputation control. They also possess possible commercial effects. The Sussexes' commercial partnerships, including substantial multi-year agreements like their contract with Netflix, frequently rely on public favor and the compelling nature of their personal story. Prolonged controversy or a change in public image might disturb corporate partners and investors who often desire stability and reputational security when aligning with celebrity brands. For media and entertainment companies, a figure's credibility and audience trust are key to their value proposition. Thus, a decline in that reputation can result in significant commercial risk. Observers have deemed the publication of Bower's book a stress test for the durability of the brand the couple has been developing since their decision to withdraw from full-time royal responsibilities. The controversy centers on the allegation that Meghan Markle underwent a process of reinvention. Bower's book purportedly analyzes the narrative she has constructed regarding her upbringing, which highlights challenges surmounted and personal adversities faced and contrasts that public portrayal with accounts from individuals who remember a different reality. While Meghan has shared narratives of financial hardship or familial challenges, certain sources included in the book allegedly depict her childhood as rather secure and stable. Individuals recounting these experiences indicate that certain aspects of adversity may have been accentuated or selectively presented to create a more captivating rags-to-royalty tale. The reports highlight a pattern of tiny inconsistencies rather than a singular egregious falsification. The aggregate of little inconsistent recollections is deemed cumulatively significant. This method, compiling a mosaic of subtle contradictions and discrepancies in recollection, presents a distinct challenge to anyone charged with deception. Minor discrepancies in human recollections are prevalent. Temporal specifics, subjective perceptions, and individual interpretations of past occurrences inherently fluctuate with time and circumstance. However, when juxtaposed and organized inside a biography featuring a critical thesis, these inconsistencies may be seen as indications of a purposeful construction of memory. The book's alleged technique seems to depend on this cumulative effect. By aggregating and showcasing a sequence of minor contests in the public record, it aims to imply a pattern of image management that may have originated early in Meghan's life and persisted into adulthood. The highlighted emphasis on her tenure at Northwestern University illustrates her attention on critical decisions. Bauer reportedly interviewed former classmates who recall Meghan as highly career-focused and skilled at fostering ties that may further her professional ambitions. Desire among young adults is a common and frequently commendable characteristic. Yet the narratives presented in the book seemingly depict that desire as purposeful networking aimed at prominence and progress rather than primarily reflecting altruistic or humanistic impulses. Individuals who have been cited assert that friendships during that period often seemed transactional, reflecting an image of a person constructing a foundation for success in the entertainment sector. The purported discrepancy between the initial aims and the empathetic, humanitarian-oriented public persona that Meghan has since cultivated constitutes a key element of the biography's critique. The examination encompasses Markle's initial Hollywood career, as the book allegedly delineates the progression from minor jobs and guest appearances to more significant parts and more acclaim. Bauer's work emphasizes the strategic development of relationships and the ability to harness professional networks rather than portraying a narrative of a struggling actor who achieved primarily through talent and perseverance. In that iteration, career advancement is more a function of deliberate career management than of fortuitous breakthroughs, forming alliances with certain individuals, employing targeted publicity methods, and selecting tasks with a focus on visibility. The prevalent characteristics of numerous professions within the entertainment sector are often overshadowed in Meghan's public narrative, which emphasizes a meritocratic battle as articulated in the book's summary. The significance of the individual recollections referenced in the biography is contingent upon the evaluative criteria audiences use to public persons. For an individual whose public persona is specifically founded on concepts of authenticity and personal veracity, the revelation of apparent inconsistencies can be very detrimental. Public relations experts interviewed following the book's publication noted that the critique specifically addresses the facets of Meghan's allure, transparency, personal experience, and ethical testimony, rendering it a particularly effective type of reputational assault. Consequently, media analysts, proponents, and detractors have commenced a re-evaluation of prior speeches, interviews, and public appearances for indications of inconsistency. In this environment, even once benign anecdotes undergo meticulous scrutiny. The credibility of Bauer's work fundamentally depends on the type and dependability of his sources. Bauer has a history of utilizing various informants occasionally, including former associates, ex-aides or family, and of convincing persons to either offer on-the-record statements or to share off-the-record accounts that can be verified. The book reportedly utilizes sources from several origins, former palace workers who departed under contentious conditions, acquaintances from Meghan's Hollywood era, and possibly members of her estranged family. The diversity of sources reinforces a biographer's assertion that various separate viewpoints align to form a coherent narrative. The primary focus of the sourcing suspicion revolves around Meghan's father, Thomas Markle Sr. The public discord in their relationship that emerged around the 2018 royal wedding is among the most prominent and discussed elements of Meghan's narrative. Before the engagement, the father-daughter relationship was commonly seen as intimate. Meghan publicly acknowledged her father's encouragement of her aspirations and thanked him with aiding her schooling and early career. Thomas Markle, a former television lighting director, is widely regarded as having contributed to her upbringing and facilitated possibilities. In the weeks preceding the wedding, a scandal emerged when Thomas engaged in a contrived series of images orchestrated with a tabloid photographer depicting him in preparations for the ceremony and being fitted for a suit. The photographs and the associated circumstances became an international embarrassment just before the event. The repercussions from that incident were immediate and significant. Thomas subsequently characterized his objective as an endeavor to restore his public image, which he felt had been unjustly depicted by the media. However, he conceded that his actions constituted a misstep. The episode was perceived by the royal family and Meghan's team as a violation of trust during a time when privacy and discretion were highly valued. Thomas ultimately did not attend the wedding, allegedly claiming health issues following a heart attack, while Meghan was walked down the aisle by then Prince Charles. The schism between father and daughter intensified in the subsequent months. Thomas conducted more paid conversations in which he solicited reconnection and divulged personal memories, a behavior Meghan regarded as a recurrent infringement of boundaries and privacy. Her reply encompassed legal measures following the publication of private correspondence, a 5-page letter she had authored to him by the mail on Sunday. The publishing triggered a prominent lawsuit, which Meghan successfully pursued against the newspaper's publisher for invasion of privacy and copyright infringement. Considering this tumultuous past, any implication that Thomas Markle may have collaborated on a significant biography adds a particularly distressing and personal aspect to the dispute. Public conjecture on his potential involvement, along with that of other estranged relatives like Samantha Markle or Thomas Markle Jr., has intensified the feelings of betrayal expressed by others close to Meghan. Samantha Markle, an outspoken critic who has conducted multiple interviews, alleging Meghan's deficiencies, apparently responded favorably to the book's release, so amplifying the notion that familial discord has influenced the ongoing dispute. In addition to inquiries regarding the origins, there exists the equally significant issue of legal strategy, or the notable absence thereof. Meghan Markle has already demonstrated a willingness to utilize legal action to challenge news coverage she deems intrusive or misleading. Her successful lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday for publishing her private letter established a notable precedent and illustrated her readiness to pursue legal action to protect her privacy and reputation. In light of that history, analysts have examined the couple's choice to refrain from initiating an immediate or vigorous legal action against Bauer's book. Legal analysts and media commentators have posited that the practical risks of litigation are paramount. Bauer and his publishers appear to have aimed to render the book court-proof, indicating that its assertions are substantiated by sources, documents, or other corroborative materials that would withstand examination during the discovery process. Being court-proof in this context denotes readiness for potential litigation. The author and publisher have assembled a body of evidence, emails, messages, contemporaneous documents, and witness statements that they may submit if required. If the Sussexes initiate legal action, the standard discovery procedure may lead to depositions, document production, and the public revelation of private communications and testimonies. For a plaintiff aiming to avert or mitigate reputational damage, litigation may be counterproductive if it results in the revelation of further evidence and necessitates sworn testimony from witnesses. An unnamed publishing source has allegedly cautioned that a legal recourse could enable the author to produce evidence messages and witnesses, so potentially exacerbating the situation for the marriage. Confronted with that possibility, advisors may determine that silence and strategic non-engagement present a lesser risk. Litigation could convert a specific contentious issue into an extended public court dispute that exposes more than it conceals. This calculus, weighing the reputational damage of seeming to yield against the possible escalation resulting from litigation, demonstrates a wider dynamic in modern media conflicts. Public personalities often face the dilemma of either vigorously contesting claims, potentially creating a reciprocal escalation, or employing a strategy of measured response, anticipating that the narrative will wane as news cycles progress. Every alternative presents its own risks. Remaining silent may be perceived as implicit consent or an absence of contradictory evidence. Initiating a lawsuit can be construed as an acknowledgement of the seriousness of the allegations and can subject previously confidential documents to public examination via discovery and court submissions. Reactions to the book within the Sussexes' close circle are said to be fervent and diverse. Individuals familiar with Meghan have stated that she is profoundly wounded, perceiving the memoir as an endeavor to undermine the narrative she has established on her life. From the perspective of an individual who has invested significant effort in crafting her narrative via platforms like her previous lifestyle website, The Tig, her highly publicized interview with Oprah Winfrey, and the Netflix documentary and associated content, the emergence of a rival unauthorized account is disconcerting. Insiders indicate that Meghan's displeasure is exacerbated by the challenge of identifying all persons who communicated with Bauer, resulting in feelings of betrayal and vulnerability. Prince Harry is characterized as protective and apprehensive, especially regarding the impact on his wife and their collective brand, yet also fatigued by persistent media turmoil. Following their withdrawal from senior royal responsibilities and their relocation to the United States, the couple has endeavored to create a new life in California centered on professional endeavors and charitable efforts. Every new incident complicates these efforts, pulling them back into controversial public debates and undercutting the relative relaxation they sought by departing from full-time royal duties. Certain sources portray the environment at their Montecito property as high pressure, with the couple facing a continuous array of public issues while striving to maintain a composed and cohesive facade. Buckingham Palace has preserved an official quiet, adhering to established institutional standards of refraining from public commentary on issues related to the private lives and reputations of those outside the monarchy's immediate activities. Nonetheless, palace sources are reportedly experiencing a sense of vindication. For a duration, personnel and the institution were portrayed unfavorably in the Sussexes' public narratives, facing allegations of neglect, inequitable treatment, and more severe accusations. Members of the royal household who perceived themselves as marginalized in prior media portrayals are reportedly monitoring the rise of alternative narratives with the belief that their viewpoint is finally being validated, albeit through an external author rather than through any formal declaration. The magazine has redirected some narrative pressure from the institution, presenting a counter-narrative that undermines the Sussexes' previously perceived monopoly on the framing of specific events. The public response has been markedly polarized. Debate has been strong on social media platforms, in comment sections, and among opinion columnists. Supporters of the Duchess have mobilized to challenge the book's assertions, characterizing the biography as yet another chapter in what they view as an extended defamation campaign sponsored by an antagonistic media. A growing number of observers, some once favorable or neutral, seem to have assumed a more suspicious stance, raising inquiries about discrepancies and demanding additional explanation. The couple's decision to forgo immediate lawsuit has become a component of the news narrative. Some perceive their silence as indicative of the potential weakness of their legal stance, while others view it as a judicious evasion of unnecessary legal risk. The debate has revived enduring critiques and enabled detractors to reintroduce points that were previously less prominent in public discourse before the book's release. To truly comprehend the emotional aspect of the dispute, one must revisit the distressing deterioration of Meghan's relationship with her father, which holds a significant position in public perception. The disintegration of that bond throughout 2018 highlighted several themes that would persist in the couple's public existence: the encroachment of tabloid media, the challenges of navigating private familial disputes under global scrutiny, and the psychological burden of public alienation. The orchestrated images that Thomas Markle planned with a photographer prior to the wedding became a contentious issue. During a time when the family aimed to control perceptions for a well-publicized ceremony, the disclosure of the fabricated photos was interpreted by many as a violation of trust and propriety. Thomas's subsequent public pleadings, compensated interviews, and revelations exacerbated the rift. From Meghan's perspective, each public pronouncement from a close relative constituted yet another unwarranted intrusion into her private life. The conflict intensified when Meghan's private letter to her father was subsequently released without her authorization. The act initiated litigation and resulted in a favorable legal conclusion for Meghan against the publisher of the Mail on Sunday, affirming that courts may uphold her claims to privacy and copyright about her email. The public disclosure of familial disputes was exacerbated by remarks and interviews provided by Meghan's half-siblings who have been critical and, in certain cases, confrontational. The family dynamics have continuously supplied material for media coverage and have influenced the public narrative of Meghan, complicating any straightforward depiction of togetherness and familial support. The release of an authorized or unauthorized biography that utilizes such contentious familial and professional recollections poses a risk of reshaping public perception of the Duchess's origins and intentions. If the book's thesis concerning intentional image fabrication, underpinned by early career networking and selective recollection, gains widespread recognition, it may lead to a re-evaluation of audience interpretations of Meghan's remarks and endeavors. The possibility for reconsideration is what renders the biography significant beyond the immediate headlines. It may encourage journalists, biographers, and the public to reassess previously recorded events with fresh skepticism. Simultaneously, there exist structural factors that contribute to the ambivalence of public reactions to such biographies. Personal remembering is intrinsically selective. Individuals narrate their histories with the advantage of hindsight and a desire to create coherent life narratives. Celebrity narratives are sometimes simplified to highlight specific themes, perseverance, resilience, or moral development, while neglecting the intricate subtleties that complicate the storyline. The act of converting a life into a comprehensible public narrative inherently entails decisions on emphasis and omission. The ethical dilemma whether these decisions constitute intentional deceit or merely the typical process of autobiographical narration often represents a contentious issue. Bauer's claimed methodology of aggregating multiple minor conflicts aims to transfer the responsibility to the subject by implying a pattern and intent where individual discrepancies could normally be excused as the fallibility of memory. The strategic alternatives accessible to the Duke and Duchess are limited by these circumstances. If they persist in abstaining from legal action, proponents think that the debate may diminish as news cycles progress and audiences shift their focus to other interests. Silence may also be interpreted as a relinquishment of the desire to challenge falsehoods, especially for a prominent figure who has previously employed legal avenues to safeguard personal narratives. On the other hand, commencing legal action may fulfill a need for restitution, but could result in an extended contentious process that attracts additional examination and the potential revelation of confidential information. The trade-offs are clear: the decision between a potentially self-perpetuating lawsuit that reopens the public record or a more subdued approach that may permit an alternative narrative to establish unchallenged. This episode may not be an isolated occurrence, but rather a segment in a prolonged series of biographical and media interventions. The proliferation of memoirs, unauthorized biographies, documentaries, and investigative journalism is a characteristic aspect of contemporary celebrity culture. When an individual epitomizes discussions regarding institutions, identity, and societal values, various narrators are inclined to assert claims concerning causation, motive, and authenticity. The publication of a single book can stimulate more investigations by other authors and filmmakers, a phenomenon already indicated by rumors of emerging projects. The emergence of other accounts may exacerbate scrutiny and extend the duration of reputational ambiguity for the Sussexes. The long-term consequences will depend on the decisions made by the Duke and Duchess, along with their advisors in addressing this situation. The brand's resilience will rely not just on immediate reputation management strategies, but also on their ability to persuasively illustrate consistency between professed principles and previous actions. In public life, the congruence of narrative and conduct is a crucial factor in maintaining enduring trust. An approach that successfully links personal testimony with supporting evidence and public actions may rebuild trust among supporters. Conversely, prolonged disputes or ongoing inquiries could diminish goodwill and hinder future efforts. As this chapter progresses, global onlookers will closely monitor whose narrative prevails, the version the couple has consistently presented regarding their lives, sacrifices, and motivations, or the contrasting perspective depicted in Bower's biography and enhanced by commenters and critics. The result will influence not just current headlines, but also the enduring narrative of how the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are perceived historically, and whether the brand they have established can withstand a prolonged challenge to the authenticity of its basic narrative. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for the time being.